never left. So sorry.
Listen, we put on these high, quality webinars, and I mean, how many have we done now? It's been like over 2 years. We do like one promo. We've done like 25 at least now, right? And I think even when we were off location at your salon, we went 4 hours without ever losing the stream.
I know.
Not once. So that was crazy, right? We have amazing internet here. And so that has a lot to do with, the quality of the stream. You have to have an amazing internet connection. But in all that time, I think we might have, out of all 25 webinars, lost the connection once because there was a storm.
Yeah.
And that was it. So that's pretty amazing to be able to go hours and hours on a live and not lose a connection. But for whatever reason, going live on social media is hard. And I mean, you can always just go on, we'll do it on Instagram. We'll just go live. And if you're just doing it from your phone, it's one thing. But if you're trying to do it with high quality production equipment, it becomes a challenge because there's only so many ways to connect it. There's audio, there's visual. We're trying to do it on multiple networks now. So we're on Facebook and YouTube. Sometimes we'll try to do Facebook and Instagram, and having all of those connections and all of those things happening all at once, it's difficult. So if you're tuning in tomorrow, it's going to be a totally different way that we're streaming. So don't worry about that. And of course, we always have replays for life on Groomhouse with all of our webinars, so that's awesome. But getting back to what we were talking about, difficult dogs, which is the topic of the webinar. And you can go back if you didn't catch the beginning of this live, where before we got disconnected, we were talking about just dogs have their days too. We talked a little about senior dogs, but just in general, everybody has a bad day.
Yeah, or an off day.
An off day. It doesn't have to be a bad day, just a day that you're not feeling yourself. And even if they've been to you for years and have no issues, they're not a difficult dog whatsoever, their owner could get up on the wrong side of the bed that morning, spill coffee on their shirt, whatever it is. It's just one of those mornings, and they're running late and they're rushing to kind of get over to the salon in time because they don't want to be late, because they know that you have special policies in place where if you're late, you're either going to have to pay and miss out on your groom, or you have to, you only get so much done in that time period. So the owner really puts a lot onto the dog.
Without ever even thinking about it.
Without ever thinking. They're not even paying attention to the dog. They're just like, come on, we got to go. And they're in the hustle and bustle of just getting through the morning and getting to you.
Maybe they have children and it was a hard morning for the kids to get up or get to school on time or to their summer day camp, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. It's very important to be aware of our energy at all times. And it's really hard to do that. Yeah. Really hard. Okay, we're human beings. So just constantly trying to remember our energy. It's important. It's honestly...
And it snowballs, right? Because you get up and you have a bad morning. You ever just get up and stub your toe, or you spill the coffee on the shirt kind of scenario where you get frustrated, right? And then you're just and then it kind of goes throughout the whole day. Yeah. Whereas if you were to just take a moment and breathe and just be all right, let me just refocus myself and get it together, and then your day would probably be okay. But if you have that mind state of this is what a horrible morning, it's a Monday, people and Mondays is such a horrible thing. But if you have that mentality, then it's gonna be.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever we have going on in our brain, it spews out of our body, but then add a leash to that equation, and on the other side of that leash, you have another soul. So you have a soul, a leash, and another soul. And through that, you do connect. Mm-hmm. Energy, the tension on the leash, how you feel is communicated through the leash. So when you get up and you have a rough morning, I always say just think about how you really feel. If someone comes in and your client comes in and they're like, oh, I noticed she's acting a little funny today here, you know, or she's shaking and she normally doesn't. It's like, well, how are you feeling? I'm fine. No, how are you really feeling? Well, I'm a little stressed out because they threw the Zoom meeting on at work that was last minute, and I had to get here, and they didn't tell me about this meeting until 10 minutes before I'm walking out the door. Boom. We have an answer as to why this dog is now shaking and normally might not be, because the morning has been thrown off. Now the energy has shifted. The dogs follow us in our energy. So we have to remain, as Caesar would say, calm, confident.
Speaking of Caesar, for those who don't know, you recently did some training with him.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
It's hard to talk about. It's really hard to talk about.
Well, what was it? Like, for anybody that might be interested in also doing this, like, it was a great experience, right?
It
like,
absolutely was.
So many photos, and just like, you're still, I mean, how long ago was it? And you're still like in the moment of it.
Yeah. I think it was at least 2 months ago or so, something like that, give or take. So just a quick,
you went to his
I did.
ranch? What is it? Okay, it's a ranch.
Yes. So just before I get into that, one day I was trying to figure out what the heck I wanted to do. And I've always loved animals. I've always had animals. And, you know, I was like, what am I going to do? And I was watching Caesar on Dog Whisperer, and I was like, oh my God.
This was before you got into grooming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, like,
The Dog Whisperer.
I want to do that. You know, like, that's amazing. Instantaneously, I saw someone, a human, so great and so good for our earth and other humans as well, helping animals. And I wanted to be like that. I wanted to do that. So I went to school to be a trainer. And while I was in school training, I trained all 5 of my dogs that I owned at the time. I was young. And I worked through training, you know, sit, stay, all that stuff, which Caesar's not a trainer, just an FYI. He's a dog behaviorist. And that was the closest I could get to it, though, you know? And then I was like, oh, if I ever have my own facility to train, you know, that's, you dream when you're just getting all the thoughts together. I was like, oh, I should offer grooming. Then people could come for both. But I was like, well, I better learn how to groom so that I can manage a salon, right? Like, how am I going to open it and not even know what the heck's going on? So I went to a corporation and I asked to learn, and I bathed for a whole year before they would let me start to groom. And I got into grooming, and I thought this was super relevant in the way that you get instant gratification. So when you teach a dog to, like, a command, there's instant gratification. And in grooming, it's an instant gratification on a whole nother level. And so I was like, okay, I really love this. And so then I was trying to do the best I could with that. And fast forward, I've been doing this, I think, 13 years now.
Wow.
And
now you started getting back into the behavior side of things. Because you've been grooming for a while, competition grooming, killed it. You got an amazing salon, killing it there.
Yeah.
Beating people off with a stick, trying to just the wait list, and now you have the whole membership program on your website, you know, so people can understand, you know, like there's a process to get there.
Yes.
But it's to the point now where you really started falling back in love with the behavior side of things.
Yeah, so it's been
I mean, you guys have always kind of done that.
I've always followed what I've learned through Caesar's books and watching him and studying him. When I like somebody or what they're doing, I really study them. And I feel like that's a way to really become better. If you want to become your own, but really come into what you really like, that's the best thing I think to do, is to really study. I watched how he handled and interacted, and it's hard because it's TV, but you know, it's edited. Like, they have to cut time down. I mean, there's just,
there's only so much you can show.
But I think we've been doing it several years now, and it's been in the works that I was supposed to go, and I signed up. It's an application you fill out, and if you're approved, you get to go.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do this webinar for a while, and decided to hold off on it, knowing that you were going to go to this Caesar training.
Yeah.
And like you really wanted to kind of like learn all that you could before bringing it to the webinar.
Yeah.
As much as you already knew, you know, you knew that it would be helpful to go through that training and be able to come back and be excited about it as you are, and
have even more
kind
knowledge
of spread that knowledge, you know, to others.
I mean, that's Caesar's goal, and his team. He has a team, and they're amazing. They're just as amazing, and that's the goal: is better human, better planet. He wants to help everybody, and right now, I think his mission is to help the humans, because in result that helps the dogs, because he can help dogs, but worldwide he can't touch every dog. So his goal is to spread, and that has always been kind of in line with who I am and what my passion and missions are, is to help. You know, I've taught, you know, how to groom a dog in a balanced trim or sustainable styles, all these things that I learned along the way from my mentors. And I love teaching. I love helping others. It makes me feel really good. And so now we have that same thing kind of going on. He's in line with that, and now I'm like, wow, I can do something that's not being done.
Yeah.
You know, dog behavior, dog psychology with grooming together, and then figuring all of this out and then spreading it out to you guys.
Yeah, because you could be a great groomer and have all the skills for grooming, but if you don't know how to interact with the dog and like work with them, right? What from the bath to the haircut, there's a whole lot going on there.
A lot.
For sure.
And a dog may be great in the bath, and then as soon as they get on the table, it's a hot mess, and there's a lot to work with there, or vice versa. Like you could have a dog bath, dryer, whatever it is, and then they come to you and it's all good, and like you have no issues. So there's like a whole mess of, you know, instances that you have to deal with in the grooming process.
Absolutely. It's hard, because a lot of groomers will say, well, I don't have time for this, or, you know, there's not enough time in a day, I've got to get through these dogs and things like that. But if we really slow down, and, you know, there's a groomer for everybody, and there's a type of groomer, and, you know, what you wish to be is all your own, and that's fine. But I do wish more groomers would work on knowing behavior and psychology of the dog, so that we can provide a better space for them and slow down. And a lot of people will say, it must be nice to not, you know, to slow down, and, you know, you create your own. Like, nobody's putting a gun to you and saying, you have to do this many dogs today, blah, 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 blah.
It's all in your mind.
It is. And if it's a financial thing, then you should definitely assess that and figure that out, and what you have to charge, because that just means
That's
the numbers
every
are
business.
wrong. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? If you're in business and you're setting prices for your product or your service or whatever it is, there's some calculation that has to go in to figure out what at least the minimum has to be to cover your costs.
Yes.
And if you're not meeting that minimum, what, you know, you're going to go out of business.
Right.
It's just plain and simple.
That's how it goes.
Right?
That's how it goes.
But you're sitting here with a wait list.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's possible.
I'm very blessed, and I don't say it, you know, to brag or anything. Anything can change in a day.
I mean, at this point, most groomers have a wait list.
Yes.
You know, unless you're like brand new and you're just starting out
Right.
and you're just trying to find your way. I think it's, you know, it's obviously, and it's talked about all the time about how there's not enough groomers. There's so many dogs and people are overworked, but that's your choice to be overworked.
Yes.
And if you are so overbooked, you need to be raising your prices, whether it's comfortable for you or not.
Right.
And we've had other lives about raising prices and how to price and things like that. But there's a reason at a point where you're overbooked. It's either because there's not enough groomers in your area, so you are more, you know, like valued.
Right.
Your value goes up when there's a supply and demand.
Right,
Right.
of course.
And then there's, if you are overbooked and there are enough groomers in the area, that means you're underpriced and you're just getting all the low bookings.
Right.
Everybody else is priced higher than you. In either situation, the answer is to raise your price.
Right. Yeah. I mean, adjust.
At the end of the day.
And back to what we were initially discussing with Caesar, it was basically full circle for me. To be able to That's really emotional for me. To be
Get it
able,
together.
I know, I'm so sorry.
You're good. Just
To-
don't ruin the makeup, you know.
To be able to walk with and talk and learn from the person.
He was like your idol.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, you grew up watching him and like
Yeah,
always dreamed of being like him, and so like meeting him in person is probably like a big moment. I mean, it's one of those bucket list things.
yeah, it is so full circle because, you know, to be able to walk with him on the pack walk, and you know, you grab all the dogs, and if you brought a dog, you have your dog too. But to sit there and tell him my story, you know, just what I told you. I started because of you, and I'm here so I can be better for the dogs.
And you were the only groomer, right?
At
Like they
this-
hadn't really. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure
they
he's
were-
done multiple of these for
Oh,
how
yeah.
many years now, and like it was kind of odd for them, right? I think you mentioned that like
Yeah, they
you
were
a
kinda
groomer, and they
like-
were like, what?
Yeah.
And then
there's-
competition grooming was like,
Yeah, they didn't know.
what is that? Nobody knew anything about that. So you were kind
Yeah.
of like opening all the people there's minds to like what the grooming industry has and like
Right.
what you guys do.
Yeah, and you know, it's completely different than offering training, and which a lot of people were there, trainers, things like that. And I met amazing people there.
Yeah.
The energy was nothing like I've experienced in the dog world, if you will. I've been to dog shows, I've been to competitions, trade shows, conventions, you name it. I've been there, and this was nothing ever like I couldn't have ever guessed it would be the way it was. It's just so hard to put into words what it was like. But I'm gonna go back again.
Yeah, they have a second one,
Yes.
right? So there's two different
Yes,
trainings.
and some people repeat it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There was someone there that repeated it with another dog. So she brings her clients' dogs if they agree and works with their client dogs with them. So, yeah, it was really an amazing experience. And I know there's a lot of controversy around Cesar Millan, and I won't get into it. I won't argue with you. I don't care if we disagree. You really can't change my mind. I met this person in person, saw dogs, dysfunctional dogs that were living a pretty miserable life, and in a short time I saw them change. And it's something I want that for every dog, and I want people to be able to give that experience to dogs. And that's where I feel like in the grooming industry, I feel like I fit in to spew all of this out, you know, as far as providing that and giving you guys information to help your clients and, you know, friends and family and all those sorts of things. So in a nutshell, it's hard to give you, that's pretty much how I can explain it.
But an amazing experience.
Yes.
You learned a ton.
Oh yeah.
Notes galore. Notes galore.
Yeah, more.
I'm sure she came back and like was
this
just
thing.
talking about it nonstop
It
for
was
quite a
before-
while.
Even before she came home, she would call me. And
Yeah.
Listen, I need to tell you this right now. You don't even understand. Sit down.
Yeah, I'd come back from all day learning and I'd be exhausted. There was a lot
Yeah.
of stimulation
For sure.
in my brain. Physically, we did a lot of activities. I mean, he
You
has
guys
a
were
ranch.
hiking up mountains and stuff too.
Yeah, he has a ranch, his ranch, and it's the Dog Psychology Center, and it is beautiful. And the land, he talks about this, and I can attest to it. The land speaks to you.
Where is this?
California.
Okay.
Yeah. The land speaks to you because of what's poured into it. You know, he can hire people, and I know that he does, but he pours into his own land.
Yeah.
And he'll talk about, you know, you have to put in good if you want out good. So you can't just say you want good out of your land, but not feed it and fuel it properly. You know, it's kind of all common sense, but it's stuff we are so wrapped into this world of like fast paced, go, 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 money is everything, all these things. And like he'll tell you You know, I always give credit where credit's due. You know, in the animal world, money means nothing. Energy is currency. So you can be as rich as you want, but you're probably going to still call Caesar for help because your energy isn't quite right, you know?
Yeah.
Or needs help or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, an amazing experience for sure. Yeah.
For sure. As soon as she came back, I can tell you, Plush turned into a psychology boot camp.
Oh my God.
That was it. You were
I'm just
doing
saying.
all of the stuff that you learned, you know, implementing it instantly.
Instantly.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly trying to grow in every way. So my business, I change things constantly to grow. And so now Plush has turned into an even more value for your buck. It's unreal, but it's
not too many grooming salons that you can bring your dog to and know that they're going to be getting behavioral training from.
Yeah. Just help. They need help.
Yeah.
You know? And seeing the change in the dogs is amazing. So I want all of that for all the people that are gonna sign up for the webinar or signed up already, so we can change the lives of the dogs and their owners and us as professionals in this industry.
And I mean, as a note to that, it takes time.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're doing this webinar. We have 4 dogs coming. I mentioned previously, we got the 4 dogs coming. They're all kind of have slightly different issues and difficulties. We have a couple extras on the side, our dogs, just in case, you know, we have some time, you know, so we got plenty of difficulty coming your way tomorrow night.
Yes.
It is going to be something to watch, that's for sure. You know, I think your guys are going to learn a lot. But you know, we're going at this as this is the first time you've interacted with these dogs.
Yeah.
You know, we're going off of what we've been told about them.
Yeah.
And their difficulties. And I mean, and you've experienced this. I'm sure somebody, you know, as far as like, you know, they say, oh, the dog doesn't do well in the bath. The dog doesn't do well for drying. The dog doesn't do well with clippers. The dog doesn't do well with nails. And it might be the case with one groomer. And then they come to you guys and you give a different energy. And the situation might be slightly different, and it still takes time, but even just the person changes a lot.
Yeah, it can. And sometimes,
so like, you know, we bringing them in and it's going to be a real life situation with these dogs, right?
Yeah.
But we don't really know what to expect.
Right.
You know, like
It's
this is
be
complete,
fun.
this is live and we just don't know. I mean, to give people kind of an idea, we have a couple aggressive dogs. We have some anxiety. We have a dog that's never been groomed before coming because they are so difficult.
Right.
And as far as difficult, you know, like that's just what we were told. They aren't groomed professionally. I don't even know if the owner can groom it. It's a Australian Shepherd. And so we're saving that one for last. We're going to see how that goes. And so we just don't know what's going to happen because, you know, difficult is different for every person and every day.
That right there.
Right? It doesn't matter. It's like on one day, it's going to be way more difficult than the other, but then with one person, it's going to be more difficult than with another person, right? So like, I mean, even just you two, do you have dogs that work better with you than her or vice versa?
It happens all the time. I have a dog. It's like, yo, this dog is pulling, tugging, tap dancing on the table. She comes over. I step back. She starts doing the dog. The dog just sits there.
Totally different.
Or it's a dog she's touching. It's giving her a hard time. I come over. It's fine. It's the funniest thing.
It's energy. So what I know is that, and we'll talk about this tomorrow, but there's so much information. It's impossible to get it in on one.
Yeah.
You know, it's impossible.
Yeah, and there's so many issues too. It's like,
my
like I
God.
said, we have quite a few dogs that we're going to be showing, you know, your techniques. We're going to, you know, be trying to do some nails and things like that and introducing tools to them just to see, you know, how you would handle the situation. But there's, you know, 100 other issues that we can bring to the table. So if you guys are interested in this stuff and want to learn more on the difficult dog side of things, you know, we can do more and more of these and bring new dogs, different issues, you know, different personalities to the
Right.
table, and we can keep doing these because, you know, one webinar, we're going to get through a lot. I think, you know, like,
What
it's gonna be a few
webinar don't
hours.
I do that we get a lot done?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying.
We're going to try to not go to the 4-hour mark on this one, but,
Rambler.
you know, but we're going to, you know, we're going to try to answer all the questions we can. You know, there's going to be a lot of different situations. Everybody that's joining, I'm sure, is going to have their own situations that they're going to want to ask questions about. So we're going to do our best to get to everybody's questions, but, you know, we are just going to have to do more difficult dog webinars if, you know, if the need is there, if everybody wants that, the need's for sure there. But if people are interested in this and they want to keep seeing it, we're going to have to bring you guys back and get a whole new all-star cast of issues, because it's never ending. They're always going to be out there. You know, it's not hard to find the difficult dogs. It's kind of funny because we're always looking for the best behaved dogs.
Right.
And so, you know, like we try to get the dogs, you know, and unless it's like the pet trim and they want to do something like we did Like a Virgin with you.
Right.
And it was dogs you've never met. And this is like a real life scenario situation where how do you, you know, go about that? But they were still decently behaved. They were good dogs. They were pet dogs.
Well,
whatever,
one was a little naughty.
Yeah. So, I mean,
but he was a puppy.
And they're in a situation also, we're in the studio, there's lights, there's cameras, there's people. So it's not like your typical scenario. Now tomorrow we're going to be setting a little bit of a mood here to try to get that energy correct in the studio so that they're as least stressed out as they can be, knowing they're difficult dogs.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you just don't know. But we can do, you know,
so
20 of these and still have more dogs to do.
The thing is that you can have two dogs doing very similar things, and there's two completely different ways to deal with them. And that's based on several different equations. You know, I mean, for instance, you need to know if this dog is front, middle, or back of the pack. A lot of people say, well, what the hell is that? Well, we can get into that, but first you must evaluate, you know, energy. And then are they front, middle, or back of the pack?
Are you doing this as soon as they walk in the door? Like if it's a new client and you don't know them yet and
I'm assessing.
evaluating.
I'm assessing. I never interact with the dog.
When they walk in the door?
Never. What is
just
no ears, no eyes, no touch, no contact. That's a real thing. A lot of people,
and I'm sure there's people out there, as soon as a dog comes in, oh my God,
of course,
come here.
And it's not malicious. This is why I want to.
And I'm sure you want to, like, and, you know, you're like,
well,
oh, it's a cute dog, you know,
course.
it's a new dog, you want to say hi or whatever. So you got to hold yourself back from that, right?
Yes, but I know what's right. So it's not as hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, you know, I mean, Ramiel will tell you, like, with my own dog, I struggle.
Yeah.
You know? I'm a human being. But it's beneficial to do it the way that it needs to be done. So nobody's doing it, like, maliciously, like, oh, I'm gonna go right to this dog and start petting and praising. And a lot of people will do it also because they think that's what the pet owner wants to see. And they do.
Yeah. You want to make a good impression. Like, I'm
about your dog.
Yeah, I'm really loving to your dog and want to.
But that's not right. That's not how you do it. That's not how you show a dog love. You must honor and respect a dog, okay? And so that, to me, is loving a dog, is showing honor and respect. And that, there's a formula to it. And it has to be followed. And if it's not, this is where things get messy and situations become, you know, kind of crazy. So no, I'm evaluating, but I'm also talking. I do meet and greets. So when they come in, we talk. So tell me a little bit about your dog. And a lot of them do all kinds of things. They pick up the dog. I tell them not to do that. There's lots of things that we're going throughout the process of the meet and greet. And I am evaluating the dog. So when they pick up the dog, I'm
out of the corner of your eye. Yeah, you're not supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, no eye contact. I definitely can see the dog doing what it's doing. I'll look at the dog. Maybe it's over there doing something and sniffing into something, and I'm looking at things. But I'm learning too all the time, you know? So I don't have all the answers, and I'm not perfect. No one is. So it's constantly trying to learn the energy and then the body language, you know? Because two of the same body languages with two separate energies mean two completely different things. Wagging tails do not mean a happy dog. I can tell you that right now. You ever heard of a cat wag? There's that wag. There's a wag that's high. There's all types of wags. They do not all mean happy. Absolutely not. And you will get fooled and bitten like that, or a dog fight like that.
Yeah, a lot of the times people get bit. It's not because the dog's like being aggressive and biting all over the place. It's because it comes out of nowhere and you're not expecting it.
Yeah,
because they are not noticing the signs.
Exactly.
And they're caught off guard, and they just snap at them, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that there was an issue.
Yeah. Dogs are not unpredictable. They're very predictable. It's paying attention and knowing what you're looking for, and that's going to take time and experience and that sort of thing with anybody. But like I said, with that little bit of information, you have to know what you're dealing with, because you cannot come the same way you would come at the front of the pack dog and a specific type of energy is not how you would address a back of the pack dog with a specific type of energy. You know, it's so,
there's a lot to learn.
It's so involved.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating and it's so rewarding.
But once you learn it, you see it, and
you grow.
Can act on it.
And you grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. You grow continuously from that. And that makes our job easier. And, you know, back to what I was saying before, most groomers are going to say, well, I don't have time for this, or I'm not getting paid for this. We'll get paid, have time. It's a very easy solution. Have time, get paid.
There's value to it.
Absolutely.
So as long as and you could be doing these things already and not telling your clients about it, so then they don't even know it's happening. You need to advertise the fact. I mean, this is turning into a Marketing Unleashed episode. But you really, and we just worked on your website quite a bit to really emphasize those things, and we're still working on it. We got more to do, because we need to get some photos and things that we want to really visualize, because people hate to read. So the more photos you have that illustrates, what you're trying to convey to people, the better. But if they don't even know you're doing this, then why would they see the value in it?
Right.
They're not going to pay if they don't understand, right? Like just because somebody's like, oh, that's a lot of money, for a groom, maybe they think it's a lot of money because they don't understand the value in it.
Right.
Between your $150 groom versus the groom down the street that's only $65. Why is there a price difference? And if you're not educating them on that, then they're gonna be like, oh, well, you're way too expensive. I'm not gonna go with you, because they don't understand what they're getting for that money.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, doing these things, learning these things, you need to be kind of letting them know, if you're implementing behavioral training into the grooming process, that's a big deal. That's something that needs to be explained to them, or highlighted on your your website, or on your forms when you first sign them up, whatever it is. I think that's huge. But I mean, we talked about the pet parents coming in and having a bad morning and bringing that energy to the dog, but you are human and have bad days too.
That's
and we were just talking the other day, and you were having kind of a frustrating day, whatever was going on, and you were just like, I need to take a moment, because the dogs don't deserve my energy.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, is to I think just noticing that you're having, and a dog's being difficult, and so that you get frustrated. And it's just like a vicious circle, right?
Yeah.
They frustrate you, you get frustrated, you frustrate them more because you're frustrated.
Right.
So it's like a catch-22, and you need to acknowledge the fact you're frustrated, and just it's okay to just put them away and step aside and have a moment and regroup yourself.
You know how many times I tell someone that and they're like, I don't have time. Huh? You better make time.
So if you don't, then it's just becoming a bad situation.
Very much so.
And everybody talks about burnout and how quickly, groomers are just I'm over it. I don't even want to groom anymore. And it really starts with you, and changing how you are affected by, whatever, all these doodles and all these, just bad dogs that aren't trained. Well, maybe you should step up and be the one to train them. Right. Like there's always that option, and come to the realization that like, okay, these pet parents might not ever train their dogs. So you have to decide, are you going to just be frustrated all the time, or are you going to do something about it? Now, like, okay, you had a moment. Ramiel is a pretty chill guy from what I've, all the times that we've kind of had, interactions. Like, you're a pretty calm person. Do you ever feel that, like, of like a need to like burnout? Step away? Not so much burnout, but like the frustration, like, or you always keep that chill environment. And I
mean, on occasion, sure.
You just have those moments with certain dogs, and
yeah, I mean, I don't like step away. She might come over and say, "Hey, like I could see something from afar," but like in the moment, even when
is
she walks
checking
up,
you at all times, making sure you're
like even from afar, like she'll come up
across the room
and she'll say, "Hey, look, I can see." Whatever. Me personally, I don't feel a thing.
Yeah.
But
she noticed something.
Listen, if you
it's an energy thing.
Yeah.
You just like feel something's off.
Yeah. He always acts like I'm like making something up sometimes. Not always. Sometimes I feel like he's like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
because I'll just be like having the grandest time.
You're just vibing,
but
doing
looking,
thing.
I'm looking like this.
Oh, it's in the face.
And she'll be like, "Yo, what's going on?"
Yeah.
I'm having a great day today.
This could be non-grooming
like,
related.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure you aren't the only couple in a business together, in a grooming salon, doing things side by side. I mean, there's people that are not only, you guys are in a salon. How about a grooming van? There's people that are in a van all day together dealing with each other. So you are bouncing off. So now there's two energies that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's like, there's a whole thing there. Dynamic going on, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm big on energy. I feel things.
The empath vibes.
Yeah. Back to when I texted you the other day, and I think that we were dealing with something. We were talking about something that we both had to deal with. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm just having a really rough morning with my anxiety. Mm-hmm. And it was really eating me up. And for who knows, I think it was just building up. One thing was upsetting, and then something else happened or whatever.
And that's what happens, right? It's just one thing, and then another thing. You're already in a bad mood, and then something else happens, and it piles on top.
And anxiety is a little bit different than anger. You're having a bad day, But I said to you, you're right. I said I have to fix this because the dogs don't deserve my energy right now. Mm-hmm. So, ways to do that. Some tips are, and everything. You do what works for you.
Everybody's got their thing, right?
Yeah, completely different.
But what do you do?
So, I practice what I learned, and that is really thinking about what's going on in my head in the moment, trying to fix what's going on in my head. So if I'm talking really negative to myself, maybe trying to change that. Ramiel tries to keep me in check with that. But just changing my mindset, and if I can't, erasing everything. Like right now, nothing matters but the dog on my table.
Just start over.
Nothing literally think about it. You're in your salon or your mobile van or wherever you are, and you're with this dog. Nothing else matters. It really doesn't. Nothing. The phone ringing doesn't matter. The emails coming through, the applications coming through, none of it matters. So practicing clearing my mind, closing my eyes, and feeling the ground beneath my feet.
A little bit of meditation.
Yeah. Grounding yourself is important. So just doing that, and I practice this. My mom helps at the salon, and I try to work on that with her too. She'll come in because she was late and she's rushing and she doesn't want to be late,
Yeah.
And so she comes in with this energy, and I'm like, okay, we've got to sit down for a minute.
Caffeinated.
She's just like not even caffeinated.
No,
she's just like
all the energy.
She's like stressed out because she was 15 minutes late or whatever, and she had to rush all morning. So I'll have her sit down and we'll work through it. And lots of breathing, deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth.
So
and pushing it out of your mouth. Mm-hmm. Pushing the energy that you don't want in your body out of your mouth. There's some other techniques that I learned from at Training Caesar's Way, he brings basically meditation involved in it, but he has someone who teaches that. Someone, I believe I know his face. I believe his name is Michael. I follow him on my Instagram, and I'll share him from time to time. But he just did a video about swooping over your body and doing certain things to let go of certain types of energy.
Do you start the day like that or anything? Like, or do you just kind of? I mean, that's a nice little ritual, right?
Yeah.
Before you start your grooming day, 5 minutes. You know, like people say, oh, we don't have time, but like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're gonna feel
it's
so
5
much
minutes
better.
to like start your day off on the right foot, in the right state of mind. Like, just have a moment, like, you know, like if you're into that, you know, people do like prayers before things. Like, it's kind of like just a moment to breathe and set your mind right and be like, you know, this is how the day, set your intentions for the day.
That's right.
And just start off
Yep.
in the right state of mind.
And you might have to continuously, you know.
How about between each dog?
Absolutely.
Between each dog, reset your mind and breathe and
Even
and
in the
like
middle
do
of a
something.
dog.
Yeah.
I watch it happen.
Difficult dogs, right?
You
You
know?
need to have those moments.
Yeah, and there's another tip that so a lot of people really like to learn within their industry. I like to go outside my industry and learn. And so I have a holistic chiropractor, and one day I should have her on the podcast. We've talked about me doing with her podcast, but she's amazing. And she suggested to me, and now I share this, is Epsom salts. Nothing, just an FYI, I should plug my Epsom salt recommendation that she has, because you don't want anything with scents, colors, nothing. It literally has to be the purest form. And you can actually wash your hands up to your elbows in between dogs, and that will clean.
Like just scrub with the salt?
Yeah, just scrub with the salts right up to your elbows and then rinse off, and that will help release, you know, just any negative energy or tense, you know.
I've heard about that in like a bath, like
Sure.
do an Epsom salt bath, and that's really like good for toxins even. Like
Absolutely.
Just in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't even think like on a miniature scale, you're just like scrubbing your arms with it.
Yep, in between, maybe you had a really old, difficult dog, and they really drained you, and you took all of them and their anxiety onto you, which I do. I hold it. My chiropractor tells me you hold it in your chest area and stuff. And so anyway, that's a way to kind of help in between, you know. Those are just a couple little things you can do.
Yeah, I mean, like in talking about that with the chiropractor thing, as much as like of a bodily pain, you know, in general, grooming gives you
so much.
from head to toe, when you're tense
Yes.
and frustrated with dogs, that's not helping the situation. You're already doing so much manual things.
Yes.
That adding tension to it and then holding on to it like you do, that's like,
It
you know, not
transfers.
helping. That's
Yeah.
not helping your physical.
Not at
I
all.
mean, there's a lot of mental going on here, but that mental going to the physical doesn't help.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's lots of different things. And energy work is not necessarily easy, but it can be done, and it can be practiced. Just like you practice in the gym to grow your muscles. Just like you practice scissoring a dog. Just like you practice bathing a dog.
And all of that takes time.
Yep.
Like, how long would you say it takes to kind of like get a difficult dog in your salon that, you know, had let's just that one instance where you sent me a video that you got of the dog from a previous groomer, and it was like just growling and barking and snapping and like it was like the epitome of a difficult dog.
Yeah,
Aggression,
she couldn't even get it.
Like they were trying to get to the dog, and it was just like doing everything it
Lunging,
could to.
it
was
bit.
like the worst of the worst that you could see. And then she sends me the same video, and this dog is just on her table, just sitting there, and she's just scissoring, and it's just perfectly fine. Now, like from that, you know, how long does it take to get to the point where the dog is like transformed?
There is no answer.
It's different for every dog.
Different
How long
for
did that dog in particular take?
Well,
Because you can see change within one visit.
sure.
Right? Like you do nails, and like you can get them to accept
yeah.
the fact that you're doing the nails
Lots
in a
of
single visit.
progress.
Now, like tomorrow we'll see, because we have one coming that is not good with nails.
Am I gonna get bit?
I'm sure a lot of people are tuning in to wait.
I'm not getting bit, but you can sure tune in to see if I will.
Yeah. So, like, hopefully, I mean, I think one way or another, I'm sure we'll get through it, right?
We're going to get through it.
But, like, as far as them becoming accepting of it.
It depends on the dog. Absolutely depends on the
Give
dog.
me a range of, like, obviously there's some progress here, but as far as coming into, like, a break, seeing new dogs, you're, like, seeing a dog become a new dog in your salon.
There's no number.
It takes time. I mean, what's the longest it's ever taken? Like, I assume you've never given up.
No, and
You've never been like, okay, I'm sorry, this dog's too difficult, we're not taking them.
I haven't had I don't.
Has there been a moment where you're just like, you turn the dog away? Because that happens. They come and they're like, I'm sorry, I can't do your dog because it's too difficult.
You know, now more than ever, I've let go a lot of that be the hero stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have a hard time with dogs. Like, where are they gonna go? Where are they gonna get this help?
If you're not going to help them, who will?
Yeah. And I really want the dog to succeed. I want the dog to succeed. It makes me so happy. But there's no number. I mean, I think...
As long as they're willing to keep bringing the dog, you'll keep working with it.
I've seen a dog come in, one visit, it was good. 6 months, 2 months, 3 months.
It really depends.
Yeah.
It depends on what's happening, what the issues are, how much trauma there is, if there is trauma at all. There's lots of things, and honestly, it is hard to do in one visit because we have multiple dogs, so it always can't be done in one visit, and that's okay. It's the first time they're meeting us, them. They're in a different place.
But there's always progress.
Yes, there will always be progress. Always in some form, even if it's small, progress is progress. And that right there, when you see it, it's like, boom, you've got it. You can continue to work with this dog and get them somewhere. So it really depends. And it also depends on how often they're bringing the dog. So we have a dog.
Yes.
It's a pit bull mix and afraid of her shadow, and yeah. And so I explained that the more frequent that we do this, the faster the outcome will be. And so she signed
Same like going to the gym.
Right.
The more often you go, the quicker you're going to see results.
That's right. And so she signed up for the Fluff and Puff membership, and she comes every week. And it's been, a year? It could have been, what do you think, a year?
Yeah, about a year.
Yeah, and now she pulls her owner in. And she's wagging her tail so hard.
Can't wait to see me.
Her and her brother come now, but the other day, Ramiel went up there and they jumped on him and knocked him down because he was squatting down. And they were so excited that they pushed him down. And I was like, oh my God, I got a picture of him down, but I never posted it. But it was so funny. But they're super excited now.
She used to hide under the chair in the lobby.
Wow.
Yeah,
See, that's a huge transformation.
But it happened a year coming once a week.
Yeah.
So it really depends on a lot of different variables. And also her trauma, like what she's dealing with, how deep is this, what things need to be, worked on.
Yeah.
But I will say, starting to figure out different things in the salon. So we're working on, she's just scared. So she'll get in a condo and then I allow the condo to be open so she can come out of it at her leisure. And so now she comes out, she does stuff, and then she runs back to it.
But
and
she's still safe there.
Yeah, and then she comes back out, she does stuff, and then she runs back to it. And then the other day, so it's only been so many times that I've actually been having her out with the pack of the day, because it depends on the pack of the day. So sometimes not everybody gets to get out and experience, but they have cots or condos. So anyway, this will probably be the fourth time.
Probably so.
Yeah, and she's finally playing with other dogs.
Wow.
So it really depends, and I'm constantly on top of what's happening in the salon. So I'm grooming, but I'm paying attention to both. I have full 100% here and 100% there, and if people say, how do you do that? It's just being very aware, and he's with me too, so he's paying attention, and our space is very, it's small, but it's intimate is what I like to say. It's very intimate, so we both can keep an eye out at the same time, and so we're working together, and our energies are working as together in harmony. for these dogs.
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on, but we're controlling it. And we find that, like I said, it really depends. The cockapoo that you were asking about initially, that was ungroomable, and then now, I would say a year. Now that she's where that video is, probably a year, but we saw progress. So you couldn't even pick her up to put her on the table. She would maul you.
Wow.
Couldn't bathe her. So she was with a muzzle on the table.
Something that other groomers said were ungroomable.
Yeah.
You took an ungroomable dog and transformed it.
Yeah, she would really go after you.
Oh, she
now I'm
Didn't even look like the
surprised.
same dog. I mean, like the video quality wasn't
I
great
know.
either.
We would have posted it,
But
right?
like, I would have no idea that was the same dog.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm surprised every time I pick her up.
Yeah.
yeah, because you would.
That's amazing. You're just changing lives.
Yeah, I mean, so the first several
And not only
times-
can it be groomed, it's getting like groomed. Like it's getting
Yeah.
plushed. There's a whole plush going on here, and this dog is looking great. So yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, and the first several times we had to work with getting her on the table, and then putting a muzzle, and then working from
No muzzle
there.
now, right?
No muzzle now.
Nothing.
In fact, I think it was the second or third visit I said, Ramiel, we're going to take the muzzle off this time. I'm
Yeah.
ready. I
Okay.
think she's ready, right? It was very soon, but she would go after you in the beginning, 100%, all the time, just straight after you for everything. And then I said, I would work on her face with the muzzle, and I would go further and further into the muzzle with my finger this way, and I would work on like where her whiskers are. And that was like, all right, if I can get in here and she's trusting me and my energy's right and I'm doing this. Eventually I felt confident enough that we could take the muzzle off and attempt it, and I did. And she didn't try anything, and I said, we got it. And then from there we would progress, and I would correct bad behavior. And part of the problem, I think, was her ears. One of her ears was so...
Yeah, I mean, difficult dogs aren't always difficult just because they're,
just
they got
because.
something going on emotionally, physical. It could be physical
Yes.
pain that they're in, right?
they're
Like we
worried.
talked about senior dogs, right? And senior dogs have a whole host of things that could be wrong,
Yeah.
from their joints to their teeth to their ears to whatever it is. They don't hear very well or see very well anymore. So there's all kinds of, you get nervous. Like
Right.
we talked about senior dogs before we got cut off. We were kind of going through the list of like how many different difficult things
Tell
there
us
can
in the
be,
comments.
right?
What's
So
difficult to you?
Everybody
Push 'em
has
through.
a different difficulty.
Yes.
So what's difficult to you? Put it in the comments. Let us know what you think is difficult. What we have coming, is a mix of difficulty.
Yes.
We tried, we're trying to get a few different types of difficult from aggressive. I mean, aggressive is difficult to anybody, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of and when you think difficult, that might be where your mind goes. But there's so many other forms of being difficult when it comes to grooming. Aggression is obviously at the top of the list. And
Yeah.
so we for sure have aggressive
And
dogs
what type
coming.
of aggression? You know?
Okay, there you go. So
So-
that gets broken down even further.
Yeah.
We have the senior dogs that we already talked about. If you missed it before we got cut off earlier, there's another live stream that you can watch where we started talking about the senior dogs and the difficulty there.
Yeah.
But then there's anxiety and nervousness and the pancaking, which, is really, I'm sure it's related to that kind of thing. Like, what tap dancing, like just trying to get away. So like what's
Someone
difficult
says-
to you?
David says large dogs that don't stand up.
And that's tough on you, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's more exertion and physical that you have to do. I mean, you work out, so you got to, like if you're not working out, that's a workout to you. You're lifting however many pounds that dog is
Yeah,
to try to get
it's
them
hard.
up. That's a lot of work. I mean, there's tools, right? So but you don't use the tools. A lot of people resort to hammocks.
Yeah.
They resort to, and that's okay. If you need that, that's fine. And if you get through it and it works well for the dog, and it keeps them, because the senior dogs, right? They can't stand that much.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to, and hammocks, obviously they're covering a lot of the body. So
I
they can
know.
only do so much grooming in a hammock.
I
But at
know.
least for their legs, right?
Yeah.
You can get to their nails. You can get to their, to their legs and their paws and be able to trim that kind of thing, and they're comfortable. And then there's those loops that will hold them up, underneath, so that the dogs that keep sitting, well, at least you have, something there to hold them up. But you don't do that, right? You don't use those.
Every now and again, I might use my Chris Christensen it's like a thing that they can kind of rest their belly on, but they still have to stand.
I've seen people use yoga blocks.
Yeah, I mean, you can use things like that.
Just something to keep them up.
Yeah, the thing is, for me and personally, this is a personal thing, and everybody can have their own, and that's fine. We can agree to disagree. I want the dog to learn to stand. So if I have to do this every time and it relies on this, it never learns. And the whole point of dealing with dogs should be that we teach them. And so, yes, we should use
special
tools.
needs is one thing, right? Like
sure.
if they're special needs, if they're have hip issues, things like that, I think that's a fair enough situation to utilize tools like that.
So when I have so the way that I deal with dogs that have difficulty or maybe arthritis, or they're older and they don't want to stand very long, I will work on, typically I'll start in the back, do the back 2 legs and the bum area as quick as I can safely. And then I tell
and this
them,
is your senior groom. Like
Yes.
this is they know
This is
coming
a-
into it, they know we're doing this as quick as we can. You're not gonna get
it won't-
exactly what, something that's, a dog that's only a couple years old.
Yeah, it won't be beautiful haircut per se, but a senior comfort groom is not very fast paced, but it's as comfortable. I don't make them stand for a long time to get a perfect scissored leg.
Yeah.
It's not fair. So it's not fast, but it's not. I'm not sitting there trying to make something perfect. But I usually start and then I tell them sit, and then I work on their front, and then I might let them lay down and work on their head and their neck. So it just depends on the
Put
dog.
a picture of you grooming a dog that was laying down on the table,
Yes, I have
right? And not
children.
everybody likes that. They don't like the dogs to lay down on the table while they
Yeah.
groom them. I saw somebody comment on what we shared
Yeah.
saying, I love this because I have a dog that I groom this way.
Yeah,
Now, like if they want to lay,
yeah.
you
I
let them lay.
Yeah. If it's, so that's a case by case situation too. If I feel that this dog is overweight or it's more comfortable, those 2 specific dogs that lay the entire time are very just submissive, and that's just what they want to do.
Yeah.
I am not fighting these dogs. I'm going to allow them to be comfortable, and they lay there very nicely. So I do one side and I do the best I can. It's not going to be perfect, and I'm okay with that because the dog is happy. And then I might flip them over and do the other side. And those dogs particular, I just think that they're very submissive, and I don't know where they came from, but I think
that's difficult. That's another difficult thing, right? Being submissive.
yes, because they want to lay, and I'm not going to fight or force this dog to stand when I can do it laying down. Now, we used to have another dog that had to be laid down. She was semi-paralyzed in the back, but she would fight and bite. So I need assistance, and I can't do that alone. So I'd have to have someone hold. I'd do the one side, we'd flip, we'd do the other side, do the face, and then she could relax, So it's really case by case. But if I have a dog that, in other words, if they have a medical condition, that's one thing. If they're old and they can't stand very long, I let them sit as soon as I'm finished, and I try to do that first. But I will say, let's say I'm in the middle of, I've done both legs, like clipper combed it, and then I'm scissoring the one and they sit, I'll move to the front. Go ahead and sit. Sit for right now. I don't need to say, stand up.
I must get this part of you
right
groomed
now.
right now.
Like I can move on and do the front.
You just work around them.
Right. And then I'll ask after a little bit of resting. Now he's got some rest. I mean, what if you were old and you just needed to sit down, or your knee hurts? Because my knee hurts, And if I just needed to rest for a minute,
just give me a minute.
Allow
I'll be
me.
okay.
Yeah, allow me to rest. That's only right. They're
Are there some dogs that you groom part of the way, or even dry, because drying takes a long time, and that they have to stand for that for a while? Are there dogs that you'll do halfway and be like, all right, I'm gonna put you away, work on another dog, and come back to you, or do you just sit there and wait and give them their moment?
I think we probably do both, but we definitely give them breaks. Yeah. So some seniors have to get extra breaks, so they're there even longer. And so I never rush a senior groom, ever. The more breaks is necessary, because they need it.
Yeah, they're there for longer, but
Yes.
their grooming time is less.
Right.
the length of time they're there is more about the space between the grooming.
Resting, yeah. It's only fair. Think about it, you know? So, no, I don't use, like, straps. Because if they truly have to, for teaching is one, but if they truly cannot stand any longer, there's too much pressure, in my opinion, on the organs.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. So I just let the dog sit and move to the front. And if they truly have to lay down, every now and again you might have that happen. I work on the face, and then I'll ask them after I'm done the face, stand up and let's finish what we got.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only considerate.
Yeah.
To work with an animal, you know, and this is who I've evolved into being and who I want others to evolve into, because I have started at one side of the spectrum, corporate, then I got into learning to become a national certified master groomer, which really helped me. My journey is beautiful. And then I got into competing, and that's its own animal, and I enjoyed every moment of that, and I still compete every now and again.
And you've done the competing with the like rescue rodeo dogs.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level of
Yeah.
competing too.
Yes.
But that's like what you love too.
Yeah.
Like you enjoy that.
And I never can get in.
No.
I can never get in fast enough, so.
But you've done it before.
Yes, I've done it a couple times.
Yeah.
And
You just never know where you're gonna get there.
no, and I've got funny stories about that too, but another time. But yeah, it's all about working with the animal. So no, I don't necessarily use those type of tools. There was a day, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very transparent. There was a day that I was like, if the dog can't stand, it can't get groomed. Because that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
I was taught that at corporation. If it can't stand, it can't stay. Because I can't groom it. You're right, it's really hard. It's really hard. It's exhausting. It's physical, but it's also emotional, you know? Because you're trying to do what's right for the animal and trying to make them comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. Because you'll start on one side and then they'll flop to the other. And you're like, oh God, now I gotta figure this out, you know? So it's who you evolve and keep growing. And this is part of it. Allowing the dog to be part of it is gonna change everything, you know? Because dogs need something in return too, you know? So if I'm a part of it, I'm getting something in return. I'm getting the ability to agree with what might be happening or disagree. That's okay too. That's teaching, you know?
Yeah.
And so most people don't know this, but a form of difficult dog grooming is learned behavior. So learned behavior
You gotta unlearn things.
Oh yeah, so learned behavior is just tantrum behavior, basically, in my opinion.
Because that's what's worked for them.
Yeah.
Because it was allowed.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
got things for it. Or
I
like
had-
you beg for food and you get the food. I'm gonna keep begging for the food if you keep giving me the food.
Because I learned that was what was right.
Yeah.
So in grooming, I had a new dog come not too long ago, and the dog screamed for everything. Screamed just to scream too on the cot. I got that out of
The dog from
a couple weeks. Yeah. And screamed on the cot. I got the dog to finally be quiet. Although, just so you know, I don't allow dogs to bark in my salon.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, what do you mean? How do you do that? Or how can you not let them bark? It's called peace, harmony in my salon. So when we get new dogs, it's freaking hilarious. My clients even know, because they'll be barking and all my regular dogs, okay, they're looking at the dog like, you must not
You're
know.
new here, aren't you?
You're new.
You
You'll
must
see
not know the
soon. We don't bark around here. And it's the true thing. We don't bark around
Yeah.
here. But that's a whole. That's for the sanity of everyone involved.
Oh,
the,
yeah.
The groomers, the
part of the
dogs.
energy.
Absolutely. So anyway, she screamed for everything. I mean, I was brushing her, and she was like, ah, you know,
Yeah.
trying to go after me and scream. I'm like, what? I barely like.
Yeah.
And then I would just hold the brush on her, and she would
Yeah.
do the same thing. I'm like,
Not even brushing. Just,
no,
it's on you.
trying to get me.
Oh, drama.
But like, wouldn't really bite down, but like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
like
Acting a fool.
Yeah, And so, you know, screaming for everything. So
Oh, I
eventually,
can't wait for tomorrow. Just because I know one of the dogs that are coming.
Yeah.
And like I personally tried to help them cut their nails.
right.
And it was a fiasco. Like, let me tell you, like I came and I'm like, listen, this dog needs its nails clipped. We're gonna do this. And they both held, and it's just a little Chihuahua mix.
Right.
It's a little bigger, you know, it's a little
Yeah.
bigger size, but like he held on to her and she was trying to help, so they both were holding on to the dog. It was flipping out. I went in and I cut the front nails real quick, just the front 2 paws. In that time frame of just the front 2 paws, it peed on him and then tried to bite her. And I'm like, you know, obviously I'm not training them or nothing, you know, like I'm just like, we need to get this dog's nails cut. It's not good. Like its toes are starting to splay and like, it's just not good for them. And I'm like, you guys, you know, like we need to make this happen. And they were like, oh, she doesn't do nails. And I'm like, we have to take her to the, you know, we're gonna have to take her to the vet. It was a rescue, you know, like, so I'm just like, we got to get something done. And so we got the front ones done.
Yeah.
The back ones weren't done. Because like after those front ones, after getting peed on and getting bit, like or almost bit, like it was crazy. So I'm really interested to see what you do with this dog, knowing, because I've seen it firsthand, how crazy she is. And now she doesn't trust me. She's like, oh no, that one came and cut my nails. So she doesn't come near me. But like, you know, and they were there. So I think that has a lot to do with it, right? They already know that she's crazy about the nails. So them being there and holding on to her and like bringing that energy obviously wasn't a good situation. It was more of like, let's just get this done as best we can right now because she needs her nails cut. Like, let's not even think about anything else. And yeah, like we got 50%. It was a failing. We got half the paws done.
Well, that's not fail.
But you know, it got done, right? The front ones at least. So there was some comfort there for her,
right? Where,
you know, like she's not getting at least half of her.
And this is where what's really important to me is that people, even owners, will say, I don't bring her as often because she hates it. That's so detrimental.
Totally backwards.
It's so bad. We need to.
She doesn't like it, bring her more.
That's right. Because we have to work past whatever issues or trauma or whatever it is that is going on. And that's not always pretty. You know, seeing a dog scream.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just, it's the energy that's coming out as they're screaming. It's really bad.
Yeah.
And then if they use the bathroom, it's just, I mean, it's basically just like they're just like, oh my God, this is too much. This is like.
They lost all control like over their bowels and.
Yeah, I've been pooped on.
How many times
all kinds of times.
It's part of.
Oh man.
You have to move slow through that process, but it has to be done. And once it's done, it usually never happens again. I've not had it happen again.
Yeah.
Once it's happened once.
Once they go through it, and you're like, okay, we've seen what you do. Now we're gonna.
It's working through it because we have to build trust with this animal.
So that being said, you know. We're having this webinar tomorrow, Handle Deez Pups. If you're not signed up yet, you need to go and sign up. I've said this before, but we do have some great giveaways. And in order to be entered into the giveaways, you need to make sure you are signed up at least a few hours before we go live. And even if you can't come to the live, we have replays for life, so you can always come back and watch, you know, again, as many times as you like. We have people that say, oh, but I'm in Australia. Totally okay. We have people tune in from all over the world. It's amazing. But as I was saying, we have this dog coming, right? And there is going to be progress. I'm sure we will see progress with these dogs.
Oh, absolutely.
But on the same note, we've talked about it takes time. So you have to know that, like, we're going to talk about a lot tomorrow. You're going to talk about a lot tomorrow. I'm going to be behind the scenes just taking care of the chat. And I'll be, you know, serving up all the questions I'm sure we will have.
Yeah.
Because everyone's got a different dog with a different situation. And so, you know, we're going to do our best to answer as many as possible.
Right.
But, you know, there's only going to be so much change, right? I mean, what you can teach in that amount of time.
Yeah,
we're going to have to do more. Maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we come back and bring a dog that was on there the next time you guys come to show if there was any change, you know. Wherever they go, hopefully they're going to, you're not here, so hopefully they'll get some continued work with those dogs. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna take time. People have to understand, you know, you're gonna learn a lot from this webinar, but you have to implement it and like keep doing it.
Yeah, it's unrealistic for a pet owner to expect a dog that's difficult and can't be groomed anywhere else for it to change in one day.
Yeah.
Is there progress in day one? Absolutely. It depends on the situation though.
But, and there's so much to learn also. So like,
Oh,
there's only
yeah.
so much we can fit in a few-hour webinar, which I'm sure Sarah will make 3 or 4 hours. We'll see. We got a few dogs. We got some extra dogs, so we'll see how long we can go, and how much we can show in a single webinar. But
It'll be
as
a
we
lot.
talked about, difficult is so many different things, right?
It
so
is.
like we have 4 different difficulties, and even 2 that might be aggressive are going to be aggressive in different ways.
Yep.
They're going to have different energies, as you've said. So there's going to be different ways to handle the same difficulty.
Right.
So I think it is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
As far as what we're showing, you know, like people are always asking, oh, is it really going to be difficult dogs? Yes.
Oh my God, I wouldn't do it if I
they
didn't
are
have it.
Sarah said, give me the worst of the worst. I want all the worst dogs you can possibly find. So we did our best. It's the opposite of what we do typically, but we tried to bring all of the worst that we could find at this moment. You know, like it changes. So
Yeah.
we want to do this, you know, down the line next year, do another one, whatever, and we'll have new difficult dogs for you. And so there's really no end to the learning of how to handle difficult and how many different types of difficult there are. We've talked about the prep side of things, so like bringing in a tub and seeing how those difficult, you know, on a future one we can do the prep side of things. That's and have them come in and do a bath and a dry and show the difficulty there and how to handle that. So if you guys want to see that, let us know and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, and what I'm about to give you, Ramiel and I both will be giving you tomorrow, is going to fill your brain up with so much to start thinking about and working on. You can only handle so much at a time. Just like when I give my clients information, I can only tell you, so as we go through this relationship, you'll learn more from us. So same thing. I mean, we're going to get so much tomorrow. It's going to be a lot. I do see a question. Brooke,
yeah, does Sarah have any relationship with any of the dogs in the demo? Absolutely not. She doesn't live here, so she's flown in. We have all of the dogs. We kind of like gave her an idea of what to expect, but even that is just what we've been told from where they're getting groomed now or not being groomed, because we have a dog that's coming that's never been groomed because of how difficult they are.
Lots of biting. I saw some videos.
Yeah, I sent her some videos of like just reactions of the dogs from, you know, just being touched, you know, with clippers or nails or whatever the case may be. So she, you know, she has some idea of what to expect.
It's gonna be so much fun.
But even when you're prepped on something like that, you have no idea how that dog's gonna be that day, how, you know, they were difficult with past groomers or, you know, whatever, and how they're gonna be with you guys. Every situation is different. Then we even have a conversation like, oh, look, we bring this dog in, and because you guys have this great energy, they're not going to be as difficult as what we're expecting them to be based on what we've been told in the videos we've been shown.
Sure.
And so you never know where you're going to. We have some backups though. We have, you know, we're gonna definitely. There's going to be tons of difficulty that is going to be going on, but what that's going to be, we're just going to have to see.
Yeah, and a lot of things I think are, in addition to being difficult in whatever way they are, some of it's probably learned behavior too. So they're going to try what they know to work. So they're gonna, and maybe I don't start with the energy that I would eventually become to, right? So maybe just coming in like, okay, boom, gonna start my day, and then you see it can be very dangerous that way, but you can see a reaction in that way versus if I clear myself, if I ground myself, if I breathe, if I calm my mind, what that can bring in itself too. So it's so much to learn. Techniques, handling techniques, how to get things done. You know, if you're by yourself, if you're not by yourself.
That's the thing too, right? You have somebody there helping you, but there's people out there that groom solely by themselves. Either they're a house call groomer, they're a mobile groomer. they're in their salon by themselves. Some people just have a salon and they're there by themselves all the time. I mean, at a certain point, there's only so much you can do
Absolutely.
by yourself. So like, you know, like you said, you've never turned a dog away, but that's because you also have a little bit of
Yes.
assistance, right?
I mean,
if you're by yourself, there's a certain point you have to be like, I can't. And
That's
some
right.
people are even just not even taking big dogs anymore.
Right.
So like, holding techniques for bigger dogs,
It's a little bit
a
more
lot
difficult.
of the time
depending on how they
require a second person, right?
Yes, depending on how they act. But keep in mind that if you truly want to have a niche with difficult dogs and that's something you'd like to specialize in, having an assistant is worth all the weight in gold. Like, having that assistant is going to build your reputation, be able for you to get these dogs done safer, get it done properly, and for you to make more money because you're specializing in something. So there's ways to think about having an additional person help you with difficult dogs. But I will show you things you can do by yourself, but of course keep in mind that some dogs cannot be done with one person for safety issues.
And you know, everybody's a different size too.
Absolutely.
So like, I'm not gonna take on
Oh yeah.
you know, 100-pound dog all by myself in
That's
any
right.
way, shape, or form.
Right.
And that's just one of those things you have to just accept at a certain point. Now, like you said, you're going to be showcasing ways to do it on your own, but it's every situation is different, right?
Right.
So,
Yep. Every situation is different.
but that's what we're gonna be kind of showcasing that. Like you said, you've never met these dogs, so it is going to be a brand new. This is like a brand new client on my table, never met them before. We're gonna evaluate them, see how it does. Do we need a muzzle? We have a loop dog system here, kind of like a groomer's helper, but we have certain things
Tools
to help, especially if you're by yourself.
Right.
Those things help a lot. And
Tools are important.
We're gonna see how it goes.
Yes. And that's the way I like to do things because I'm a groomer. And I know what I like to learn and how I like to learn. And so I feel like I know what you guys want. And so I like things to be very raw and natural and transparent so you can see how it goes down. There is no perfect in anything. So I think that gives you the best because it's not a perfect dog. There is no such thing, really. I used to hate that when somebody said, oh, they should do grooming competitions with dogs that are bad and da-da-da. Well, when you're doing a dog that you know, it can be very difficult too because things don't always go as planned. In fact, most of the time it doesn't. So, but again, back to what I was saying is, you know, we work in a salon just like you guys do, and we get new clients and we get new energies, new behaviors, all sorts of different personalities with it being the human, the dog, and how to have both of those relationships and working together. I will say that if you don't have the commitment from the owner, I do not commit to the job.
Yeah, they have to understand what's going to go into it.
Yeah. So that's a whole thing too.
Do we have any questions? Anybody say anything want to point out? All right, well.
Cool. Well, I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Ramiel and I are going to give you a really good show.
Head over and sign up.
Yeah, I think we were talking about it, and you said, this is going to be a real shit show. And I said, it's going to be the best shit show you ever seen.
Yeah. I'm like, oh boy, give you the worst of the worst. Let's see how this goes.
That's right. I want it because it can be done. And, you know.
But we're going to have to like I'm nervous, but I gotta get rid of that nervousness.
Oh yeah, I have to coach her tomorrow.
We're gonna have to go through a whole thing before we go live. We're gonna have the incense, the essential oil diffuser going. You know, like those are things you do in your shop. We're gonna make sure that the studio is nice and quiet, and we got the energy flowing. So there's gonna be a whole like pre-webinar thing we're gonna have to do to like make sure that we're setting ourselves up for the difficult dogs. Like we don't want to. We want to show that they're difficult, but we don't want to bring them into a stress out environment because
it's dangerous.
There's things you have to do before you even get the dog on the table.
Yeah, well, because anybody in this room or in your salon is working with you without even working with you. So the energy that they have is working with you. So if I'm working with a dog,
we'll meditate. We'll have a little meditation session before.
And somebody's nervous, like if I'm working with a dog and someone's over there like not breathing, and they're like holding their breath like, oh my God, what's about to happen? It can set the dog in just like that. Just like that. Want to know how? I can tell you an example. The other day, Ramiel was doing, it wasn't the other day, it was 6 weeks ago. We had a client, she's very difficult for nails, so she has to be held. Yeah, she has to be held, and we've been working on it. And we've made some progress, but it's still a work in progress. And she's never bit or anything like that. She just screams. It's a Frenchie, so you know how they do. They like to make lots of noises, and they're strong as shit.
Yeah.
Those little dogs,
muscles.
what?
Tank.
They're like, you know, with all their energy. So he holds and I do the nails and we work through it. So anyways, my dad stopped in to bring something and he was at the gate. When I was near the gate, he was holding, I was doing the nails, and my dad said, "Aw, poor thing."
Because it's screaming.
Yes.
Oh.
There's nothing poor about this dog.
Yeah.
We're working through issues. So
But he brought that.
he brought that, and guess what happened? The dog bit Ramiel's arm.
As soon as he felt that, like, yeah, poor me.
You know?
Oh no. So yeah, you gotta be aware.
Oh yeah, she's never ever. So when you're working with these dogs also, you know, priority, I used to have, you know, my receptionist come to me at the where she always come when I'm working with a bad dog and I'm like focused and I can't listen to anything. When I'm with a dog, I'm solely, especially difficult dogs, I am solely in it, right? It's like she would come and be like, so and so's on the phone, or they emailed, or they text, and they want to know, and I'm like, just ignoring, you know, because I can't
You're focused.
answer. And she just said, I'm like, now's not a good time, you know, because I just need to focus and work. And so you have to have your salon in a harmony.
Yeah.
It has to happen.
So
So
just how it's set up in general too. That's something you need to be thinking about.
Yeah.
Like where
And
the
who you
dogs are
have.
going to be located.
Yep.
You know, if you have the kennels or whatever, and all the things.
Yeah.
Where the entrance is, how, you know, like if somebody's gonna, are you letting people walk in?
people do
Right,
walk
like
in,
because
yep,
some people
yep.
can have like you have a doorbell.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So like you can't come in. I'm not even gonna let you come in until I know you're gonna be coming
Right.
in. Because if you just walk into the salon and it's fully open and your dog sees you coming, that just
Yeah.
kills the whole
Yeah.
energy vibe that you have that
Yeah.
you've worked so hard to set up, right?
You got anything to add? See you tomorrow.
Definitely see you tomorrow.
Hey,
So-
tell your friend to tell your friend to tell your friend.
Everybody
to tell your
needs
friend.
this, right? Like everybody needs this.
If you think you don't need this, then you just must not work with difficult dogs, and that's okay. But if you work with difficult dogs,
Exactly. You can
Or-
choose to just be like, I'm not, and like you said,
Right.
if they don't stand, I'm not going to be working on
Right.
them. And that's totally your prerogative. You can do that. You can
Yeah.
choose to never work with difficult dogs. But if you have difficult dogs and you're
or you
interested
want
in
to
getting
get-
better with them,
or you want to get into working with difficult dogs and rehabilitation, through
or like you
grooming.
said, specialize in that, because there's people that turn them away left and right.
Left and right.
They
I
need
wish
to go somewhere. So if you're that person that you're like, I really have a passion for working with these dogs and helping them get through this process and being able to give them that grooming that they need,
Yeah.
this is for you for sure. So just to know before we wrap up, Groomhouse 2.0 is going to be launching slightly after your webinar ends.
Okay.
So
Woo-hoo.
everybody's signing up. If you can't make the live, you're going to have 2 days to rewatch it before the site comes down for us to be able to do all the things we need to do to get Groomhouse 2.0 launched. It is going to take a few days, so we appreciate your patience with that. But as soon as we're relaunched, you'll be able to access it again on the new site, on your account. So don't worry. Replays for Life will always be there. We're just going to have a few days where we're going to be down working on it. We're going to be working our butts off to get everything working properly and set up for you guys. So just fair warning, if you didn't see the email, the site will be down the 29th, I believe. So you have 2 days after to rewatch, and then once we're back up, again, it's just for
Forever.
life. So
Yeah.
no excuses if you say you can't make it, whatever. What I think we're gonna start doing also is opening the chat before the live, so that if you cannot make the live and you know you can't make the live because it's gonna be 3 a.m. where you are, or whatever the case may be, you're busy, whatever, you can go on ahead of time and go to the questions area on the chat where it says ask at the bottom, and you can enter in your questions ahead of time. So we may not answer them. You know, they have to be relevant. But if there's something that you're dying to ask that you know for sure you have a question about, she may answer it. You know, he may answer it as we're going, just without us asking it. You know, that happens a lot where you guys are asking questions and it gets asked, and so we close it out because it was answered.
Right.
But if there's something you're dying to ask, you can go in ahead of time and put your question in so that it's there, just in case it doesn't get brought up. We can ask it. You're also available at some length if you have additional questions. Now, you have to understand that if you come in and, you know, we always kind of post all of the instructors' social medias, and we say you can reach out to us as well if you have additional questions. But at a certain length, at a certain extent, you become you know, like you're just consulting.
Yes.
You can ask simple questions, but if you start writing paragraphs and Sarah has to spend 15 minutes reading through it, and then another 15 minutes thinking about it, and then another 15 minutes writing back because you have to type all this information out, that's 45 minutes to an hour of your time that, you know, you don't have. You're a busy woman.
Yeah.
Like, you got a lot going on. So be respectful of the instructors and asking them questions. A lot of them are, you know, consultants or mentors. And I mean, if it's something that you guys are really interested in and become, you know, signing up for consulting or mentorship, you know, that's something that maybe we could start helping with, you know, like setting up a mentorship program where you can just go ask a master groomer all the questions that you want, you know, for a membership fee, right? Like, because at a certain point, you're instructing them virtually, you know, from a distance. Yeah. So just be respectful. You know, we're gonna get to all your questions, but at the end of the day, we're gonna end up having to do another one of these to answer all the questions out there.
It's a forever growing industry for sure.
For sure.
Things to learn. One last question I want to answer before we end. It says, Lee says, as a corporate groomer, how well is it, or is this, how well,
this translates to my constantly rotating clientele, because you're not gonna have the time to build that change that we're talking about.
So rehabilitation can't happen in one visit every 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, or once a year. However, what this could offer you is the ability to have the niche within your corporation as being the groomer that can handle these difficult dogs, and then you can require these clients to come in on a very regular schedule. And that, my friend, is security in your job, and in addition to your community and being someone who can help dogs and their owners. The need is there. Even if your corporation, I've been there, done that, you can still require the said client to come if they really want to work with their dog's behavior and have them feel better being groomed. So I think that it's definitely beneficial for you as well.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it has a lot to do with you. So, I mean, and a lot can happen in a single visit. It's not going to be life-changing, but
that's where
just working on some tips and tricks that you're going to give about, like, just how to approach certain situations. There's going to be handling techniques, you know, of just like holding a dog a certain way.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot that's going to go into it. I mean, at the end of the day, to see, you know, a dog transform, it's going to take time.
You will see a difference though. You know, the first visit is usually the most, what's the word I'm looking for?
Impactful.
You feel so much from it because you see so much. Even if it's a small thing, it's a big victory.
Yeah.
Progress is progress.
Yeah.
Like, progress is progress.
The fact that we're even able to get the nails done, right? Like,
and how we did it and how we got through this dog and the way the brain and the eyes change and the way the body language changes. And now this dog thinks, oh, I can kind of trust you, or you may become my friend. You know, you see a lot of things happening. So totally, I think.
But educating the, you know, the owner that comes in, saying like, hey, you know, we were able to get this done, but, you know, you really just letting them know, like, in order to see any real improvement, they have to be coming more often.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, that's very beneficial for you. There's no rules, to my knowledge, in corporation that coming frequently and
Yeah.
being on a schedule is a bad thing.
No,
I
you
think that
can't come every week.
Yeah, I think that they would definitely be happy with your sales, and
Yeah.
you're an asset to the company. And it's definitely something like, not only to the company are you an asset, but to your community, and that's beautiful to me.
And if you ever leave there,
Yeah.
which happens quite a bit,
Yes, you will have knowledge.
you
To take
learn
with
things,
you.
but then you people might seek you out if
Yes.
that's what you become known for, and you want to go out on your own at some point.
And understand that if you do this right, the dogs don't forever stay difficult. Your job will become easier, and these dogs will no longer be difficult for you. So don't think of it as, oh my God, I'm going to be a difficult dog groomer for the rest of my life. No, you're actually going to be dealing with dogs that were once turned away and needing help from someone. Now having a lifetime relationship with them and their families, and it will be very beautiful, and you won't have to struggle. The struggle and the problem is, people think, oh, that's a lot of work. Yeah, it's a lot of work in the beginning. In the beginning. And
That's why they just turn them away. They're like, I'm not going to deal with that. But if you can get past those hurdles over time, then it's smooth
easy.
sailing. And
Yes.
you're not dealing with difficult dogs.
That's right. And you are the person people go to. And then once a month you get a new client instead of all the time, because you're busy and you're booked. And you take that new client, you get a refresher, and then you work with a new difficult dog and energy and all that sort of thing. So it's definitely rewarding. So that's what I think you could get from it.
For sure, you'll gain more confidence in wanting to accept difficult dogs as well.
Yeah.
Because
You know how to handle
without
yourself.
having any information, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So much to learn. I'm excited.
Me too. I'm so excited. It's my
We
favorite.
postponed
favorite.
it. We got sick after Hornatus. It was a whole thing. So
We've made
thanks
it.
to everybody that signed up and have been waiting all this time. I know you guys have been anxious for this. It's been a long time coming. It's something that we've wanted to do long before we even had to postpone it. It's been something that we've been talking about for quite a while, and we are finally here.
Yes. So
We're
see
gonna
you
be
there.
Exciting. We'll
If
see you
you-
tomorrow.
Yes, if you guys have any questions, please reach out, but sign up too.
Yeah.
See you
Have a good
guys
night, guys.
tomorrow. Thanks for the donuts, David.